You know that fairy tale we are all told, the one where you find the one, get married, and live happily ever after. Yes, but nobody tells you what happens when the story doesn't go that way, right? In today's video, I am going to be talking about a Nigerian US based YouTuber called Ronke Raji. So Ronke is a beauty stroke lifestyle influencer and makeup enthusiast who is also passionate about mental health and self-care. Ronke shares the journey through love, heartbreak, and rediscovering herself after divorce. Yeah, she got divorced.
Until now. And for me, rebuilding is not necessarily even about like getting things that I've lost back. Rebuilding for me is getting my mind back, you know, getting to that place in my life where I'm now excited about the certain things that I used to do. Is the pain still there? It is sometimes, you know, because it's a decision, it's a huge decision that really did change the trajectory of my life, which is very important for you to really pay attention to who you're marrying. You know, it's one of those decisions that you might not think impacts you, but it impacts all facets of your life. And I'm just glad that I'm still in a place where I can give back to other people just through experience or through the things that I've been through, because I don't know how I wish I'd seen a video like this when I was going through things. I wish I'd seen a video like this that let me know that I wasn't alone.
Our story is raw, honest, and deeply relatable, especially if you've ever stayed in something longer than what you should have. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's talk about how she went from I do to I'm done, and how she found her power in the process. Hey everyone, welcome back again. I am Wemimo, also known as That Mom of 5. So let's dive into Ronke Raji's story, okay? So Ronke Raji grew up sheltered, all girls school, strict parents, and very little exposure to dating. I am one of them.
Maybe like 8th grade in a mixed school where there was boys and girls. So I had like crushes and stuff like that. I already had like some preconceived notions about how boys were, but I didn't know too much because again, I was very sheltered. I didn't really even know too much about dating or anything like that. Anything I learned about dating was what I learned from people around me.
Of them. At 18, she got into her first relationship, not because she was in love, but because everyone else had one.
Nigeria, while I was 18, I had felt as though it was my rite of passage to kind of have a boyfriend. And I didn't know why I felt this way, but I just felt like, dang, like everybody's getting a boyfriend, I need a boyfriend. Ended up meeting up at the cinema. I didn't really like him at all, to be quite honest, but my zeal to have a boyfriend at that time and just be like, I have a boyfriend, was more than me not liking him. And so I was just like, okay, well, he asked me out. We started talking, dating, or whatever it was at that time.
When she moved to the United States at age 19, that relationship ended, but it planted a seed. The belief that she needed to be with someone to feel complete, according to her words.
That I wasn't, you know, like, why wasn't I picked? Yes, I was a pick me. Okay, this is coming from a former pick the hell me. Pick me and put it on my head. That was, and I think it really came from a lot of society conditioning and the people I was around, you know, being in Nigeria, there's a different vibe over there than here. And I was young, I was impressionable. So by the time I came to America, to give you guys context, I was literally not talking to anybody really, and except from that guy that I would go back and forth with, that was like my ex technically.
So her first love, which was a promise wrapped in control. In college, Ronke met someone new. He was charming, attentive, supportive of her creativity, according to her. For the first time, she felt seen. They both became inseparable, you know, dreaming of forever. But looking back, in her own words, she realizes the signs were there all along. Control, possessiveness, and a slow erosion of her individuality.
Even though before the proposal there was a time where I had like caught him on Tinder, which now that I think about it, Tinder was made in like 2011 or something, so technically the whole time that we were in a relationship there's no reason for you to have Tinder, because it was never before we were in a relationship, since we had been in a relationship for so long. And one of my subscribers, funny enough, messaged me and was like, hey, is this your man on Tinder? Nah, I didn't know if it was him or not. I didn't know. But I went to go talk to him, because again, that's bestie, that's bae, that's everything. I had to go talk to him. I was like, hey, like, is this you? He's like, no, and now people won't be doing it. And back then there was no AI, so it's not like he's AI. But shortly after she had messaged me again, I was like, hey, that profile randomly started getting taken down. Mumu, like me, I was already engaged. I was like, this person is just trying to spoil my engagement. I didn't think about it. I was just like, whatever.
When love starts to feel like surveillance, it is no longer love. She spotted the red flags and blind spots, but an innocent misunderstanding with another man spiraled into accusations of cheating. He didn't believe Ronke, and she began walking on eggshells.
I didn't do anything with him. I mean, now that I think about it, I probably had like an emotional connection with him, which I never actually realized that I might have had at the time. So that was kind of like really weird to me. I didn't know how to explain it, because sometimes you catch feelings that you don't realize you catch feelings. Now, before he came back, I told him everything. I was like, hey, this guy, I met this guy, like this happened. Now, I did not realize, it was crazy. I did not realize that this guy that I talked to that summer was going to meet his best friend. So him and this guy and the best friend came together, and then the guy now lied. He lied. That's me and him did stuff when we did not do anything. The pain that entered my chest. Thank God I've already even told the guy that, man, if I hadn't told my boyfriend, what would have happened? I don't know what would have happened. But anyway, I think that was like a weird lingering thing, because he was like super like, damn, like she cheated on me, blah, blah. I never did.
Our world shrank. Our opinions softened. Our laughter less frequent. She's got a beautiful smile though. You guys need to go find her on her channel. She was becoming a version of herself she barely recognized. And yes, it was time for her to get married. The wedding was there. The warning signs were there as well. Despite Ronke's doubts and warnings from family, yeah, she pushed forward with the wedding. She went ahead with the wedding because in her mind, love conquers all. The wedding was beautiful, picture perfect. But she remembers standing there, realizing she barely knew the people around her. That was one of the signs Ronke, ignored.
But shortly after she had messaged me again, I was like, hey, that profile randomly started getting taken down. Mumu, like me, I was already engaged. I was like, this person is just trying to spoil my engagement. I didn't think about it. I was just like, whatever, I didn't care. Didn't think anything about it. Again, ignoring the flags, not even trying to and this was like a couple of months before I got married. So I was just kind of like, I beg, I don't care. Which one is I beg, I don't care? This is your future you're talking about, I don't care. Anyway.
Like I said, that was a first quiet crack in the foundation of Ronke's marriage. Ronke is a mother. Yes, she is actually a mom of two. Soon after the wedding, she became pregnant. Along the line, she suffered a miscarriage. She was absolutely crushed. She found herself alone. When she fell pregnant again with her son Amari, she hoped things would change. But instead, the isolation deepened. No support, no comfort, no partnership, just silence and sadness, right? So the breaking point was after a second child was born. Things got really worse. Arguments became a routine thing between her and her ex-husband. Support was non-existent.
I remember at some point I had to start keeping a record of voice memos, because I started realizing that I was losing track of what was going on in arguments, and I didn't understand certain things, and I'll be like trying to figure out my points, and like if I was really if something was really happening, or, you know, just started literally keeping track on my phone of like how things were, because I did not understand whether the arguments we were having made sense.
Then one day it turned physical. Ladies and gents, when it gets to that point, please do not stay. I say and I advocate that you do not stay in an abusive relationship or marriage. Note, abuse comes in all forms, okay? For Ronke, that was the moment she knew if she stayed, she would lose herself completely. So she left, and I must applaud her for that. I must applaud her for her courage for living. Not because it was easy, but because survival demanded it. She had 2 children she needed to be responsible for. And then it continued that she started rebuilding. You know, the magic was always her.
This is somebody who grew with me. We grew together until I realized that the real magic was always me. And coming back home to myself has made me realize that, like, I'm me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always going to rebuild. Even that was one of the first things that my therapist told me when I first came to Baltimore.
Ronke living her marriage was just the beginning. She faced legal battles, and we all know the process might be easy in diaspora, but the emotional scars, the loneliness of single motherhood. But she went into therapy, and through her own reflection, she learned something powerful. That is, the magic was always in her, herself. Instead, she had been searching for validation outside of herself, when everything she needed was already really within her. And yes, I know a few people fall into that box of finding validation when we all have what it takes into us. And don't get me wrong, some people just need a little push, but that is not a sin. So, lessons for every woman. Ronke Raji's story isn't just about heartbreak. It is a blueprint, a warning, and a hope. And here are her lessons. Number 1, pay attention to little things because they grow over time.
Things I've learned is that the little things are not just little. The little things are the big things. The little things will amount to things in the future. Would I have done it over, if I had a choice to do it over again, would I have done it exactly the same way? No. I feel like I needed to have been in a different position, and I try not to beat myself up about it. There's a lot of self-forgiveness that I've had to practice in this whole process, to not only forgive myself for not knowing, but to also forgive myself for allowing myself to be in spaces where I was no longer wanted for prolonged periods of time, and be around people who, or him, who clearly no longer really wanted to participate in the marriage.
2, always trust your instincts.
However, what I didn't realize was that there was a lot of control that was in there, but because I didn't trust myself and I didn't trust that I knew myself, I was putting a lot of control in his hands, you know, that I didn't realize at the time. Like, looking back now, I can say that, but I didn't realize then, like, oh, you know, you're a boyfriend, you're not supposed to like care if I come back from school late, and you're not supposed to care if I have a lot of friends. You know, I placed him on a different pedestal, and it kind of gave, we were married even though we just kind of started dating.
Instincts. 3, never lose your identity to please somebody else. 4, build your village, no matter how small. And most importantly, it's okay to leave, okay? It's better you live to live, because staying silent is not strength. And leaving, I must say, might be the bravest thing you will ever do in your life, and Ronke did that. So in her video, she shares a story to help other women break free from fear, shame, and silence, because no one should walk through pain alone. And no woman should have to choose between love and her own peace. Peace is gold, you know. Peace is very, very expensive. It's very, very expensive, and I'm sure you all agree with me. So, if you've ever had to rebuild yourself after love, this story is for you. Okay? What was your turning point? How did you find the strength to leave? Share your story in the comment section, because for me, I am really, really interested, and let us break the silence together, because I really want to hear from you guys there. You can never tell who this video is going to help. So to Ronke Raji, if you ever come across this video, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for your courage, your honesty, and your voice. It's not easy to stand in your truth, especially when the world teaches you to hide your pain and smile through your suffering. But by speaking up, you've done something powerful. You've given other women permission to breathe. You've reminded some of us, even in this Gen Z age, that love should never ever cost us our peace. That marriage should never mean losing yourself, and that living is not failure. No, living is not failure.
You know, I just brushed it off. I never took things as seriously as I could because I don't know why I thought I did not have a choice. I don't know why I thought that. You have a choice. It's your life. If you don't want to be with somebody, don't be with them. You know, you don't have to go on being with somebody just because you feel like history or, oh yeah, because we slept together. You don't have to do all that. You literally don't, you know, and
failure sometimes is the first step towards freedom. Now, to every woman watching this, and to myself as well, who have ever felt unseen, unheard, or unworthy, you are not broken. You are becoming. Healing takes time, but peace is waiting for you on the other side of courage. Once again, to Ronke Raji, you didn't just survive, you rose. You reclaimed your voice. You showed us that starting over is not the end of the story, and May Yul Edochie is another example of this. And your story is the beginning of a new one. A story written on your own terms, with your own strength, your own truth, and your own magic. I sound like a big sister right now, right? Anyway, to anyone watching who needs to hear this, you are enough, you are worthy, and you are allowed to choose peace. So to use all out there, share your story below or leave a message of support for someone who actually really needs it. Like I said, you can never tell who might be watching this video now, because when one speaks, or when one woman speaks her truth, she gives others the courage to do the same. With that being said, I remain Wemimo, also known as That Mom of 5, and if you've watched it and you've not subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Don't forget to like, support, share, and I shall see you in another video, and stay blessed. All right, bye.